think the biggest thing is having confidence, right? Is finding the confidence in yourself, having confidence in the vision that you've been given, and having that belief.
Welcome to the Build to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe that the key to scaling your business and compounding your wealth starts every single day with a mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more or all of it away to help MVPs. I'm your host today, Brett Swartz, and every episode we feature some of the world's top entrepreneurs, millionaires, and billionaires. They share their principles, values, secrets, and wisdom, providing each of us with the insights we need to reach the next level of success, faith, and impact. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest. She is out of the great state of Texas and has a tremendous background. In fact, as a dedicated former U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter pilot, she flew command and control air assault repelling top secret intelligence missions and also transport high-level government VIPs, including the Secretary of Defense. And these stories kept attendees on the edges of their seats and so much more. And she's going to keep us on the edges of our seat today as we dive into First Lead Yourself with the one and only Elizabeth McCormick. Elizabeth, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, get to know you for the first time. Would you give us just a little bit more about your story and your current focus?
So boring. So boring. I was an unemployed military wife and decided I didn't want to do that. So I decided I had a lot more potential than being a military wife. So I decided to join the military, but I wanted a cooler job than I call him the starter husband, than he had. So I researched it and found out the coolest job was being a helicopter pilot. So I said, oh, I'll do that. And didn't know it was hard. Didn't know it was early days for women in military aviation, and did it anyway. So the recruiter said no. The flight doctor said little girl. The when I went to take my military entrance processing testing, they were like young lady. So everybody was against me, and I just really stayed true to the vision that I had of becoming a helicopter pilot. And it wasn't until I was out of basic training and into warrant officer candidate school that I found out it really was hard. And that when my packet had gone to the Pentagon, they only had 2 spots in the nation, and I had gotten one of the 2 spots in the nation.
Wow. Okay, so a couple things here, right? So against all odds, you became a helicopter pilot when it was, and this is not like just a helicopter pilot, but a Black Hawk helicopter pilot. Explain the difference there, because I think that's key, right? This is special operations and different things like that, above and beyond maybe the different levels of helicopter pilot, right?
Well, not special operations, but so the Black Hawk is pretty impressive. You start off when I went through, you started off in flight school in a Huey, so the Vietnam era, helicopter, and that only had one engine. And then partway through flight school, they let you pick. You do what's called a dream sheet. And so my dream sheet was I wanted something with 2 engines. So I got to pick, I chose Black Hawk. We had Apaches, we had OH-58, Kiowa Deltas, were at the time, and Chinooks were the other one. So Chinooks would have been cool too.
What was
But
the most, surprising thing as it came as you continue your career? You overcome the odds, you make it in, and now you're flying these missions. What was the most rewarding part of it, and what was the most surprising part of it?
oh geez. The most rewarding part of it is knowing that you're making a difference. So even though it might be a small, tiny difference in one mission, but you're making a difference to the soldiers that are in the back that you're taking to their next place. You're making a difference to the little edit point there. So
Yeah.
you're making a difference to the soldiers that are in the back. You're making a
Mhm.
difference in the mission. And
Mhm.
you're like, I think what surprised me the most is how everyone is absolutely dedicated to the same mission.
Mm.
And I think that's a piece that is missing in a lot of businesses, right? Is that they're not focused on that. Everyone's on one mission. One mission, one team, one dream, one focus. And I think when when people are focused in that way, it really becomes unstoppable.
Amazing. So it sounds like making a difference, right? And like knowing that you're tangibly at every single mission, even in a small way, making a big difference, and obviously large stakes, right, of everything that's going on with fighting for our country and fighting for freedom. Number two, also dedicated everyone being dedicated to unity. So the power of unity is what also brought life and fulfillment for when you're on those missions. Is that a fair summary so far?
Oh yeah,
Okay, so
definitely.
with that in mind, let's dive right into the topic at hand, right? Which is first lead yourself, right? So,
Mhm.
what would you say is the number one secret, Elizabeth, when it comes to first leading yourself?
The number one secret, I can tell you it's a secret. No, it's not a secret. To first leading yourself is not getting in your own way. So I know it happened to me when I decided to go from, I did the military for 8 years, and then I worked in corporate America for 8 years. And I knew I was getting laid off. I had 6 months notice, so I knew I was getting laid off. And yet I was finding excuses. I was finding distractions, right? I knew I needed to do a website, but let's go clean the kitchen instead. So it was finding this that focus and finding that focus within myself and the discipline. And I had the background for the discipline, but yet I found that I was getting in my own way. And so, in the military, you're so focused on the mission, you don't think about yourself. Ooh, right? You don't think about yourself. It's selfless service. And then working in corporate America, I had objectives. I had things to do. And then all of a sudden, I'm working on my own business for the first time, right? As an entrepreneur, as a business owner to build my speaking business, and I didn't have that. I didn't have the team around me all focused on the same mission yet, right? Because at first you're a solo entrepreneur. I didn't have, the objectives for your job, right? I didn't have that focus and discipline I needed to succeed at first. I had to find that. And I think that's a big thing that's missing for most people is how do you find that inner motivation, that inner discipline to do the things you know you need to do when there's so many distractions and there's so many options for what you can focus on and the sequence that you can do things.
Well, I was speaking with Elizabeth McCormick, and you can find more about Elizabeth by going to pilotspeaker.com. That's pilotspeaker.com. Elizabeth, I love the way that you really brought to life, I think, the transition and from full-time military service to now full-time entrepreneurial service to the person, the customer, the client you called to serve, right? And transitioning from focusing on self versus just focusing on that customer, right? And not letting, because it sounds like if you focus in on self, you're going to find distractions. You're going to find excuses um, to be in that world. But if you can be outside of yourself and so focused on the mission to serve others that the distractions maybe are dissipated. Is that a fair summary, or what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So I found that here's what I really learned. I really learned that we're we're meant to be here for a mission, right? Really a mission. So, like anyone listening, your business is your mission, but more than that, what your business does for your customers or your clients, that's your mission. Not what you do, but the result you get for them. And if you stay really focused on that, what you do for them, how you accomplish things, how you move the needle in their lives or their business. If you stay really focused on that, then it's hard to get in your way, because when you get in your way and you don't hit the ground running every day, that is hurting people, because you're withholding your gifts, your skills, your knowledge, what you do. When you withhold your greatness from someone, you're hurting them. And I truly believe that we're not here to hurt people. And you're not listening here. You're not here to hurt people. And when you have that focus, that when you withhold your gifts and your greatness of what you do, and you withhold that, it hurts people. Ooh, it shifts how you do things.
Okay, this is powerful, right? And I'm loving the way you're saying this and the way that you're delivering this and the way you've lived this, obviously, right? With everything you've done. So that's the number one secret, not getting into your own way. So what would you say that the next secret is here, to, uh, first lead yourself?
I would say the next thing is relentless motion. Like, doing things, even if it's the wrong thing, right? Because we learn from making a mistake. I you know, nothing growth doesn't happen in a comfort zone, right? It happens in a what I call the potential zone. It happens when you try something new, when you push your boundaries, when you do something that you haven't done before. And that requires you to take action and to do something. So, relentless motion, relentless action, doing something that you haven't done before and trying new things. So, not always, sometimes something's working. Stay with that, right? But maybe make a small tweak. Maybe try just something a little bit different. Maybe stretch just a little bit more, because that business growth that you are looking for is not happening in your comfort zone.
Okay, so talk about this because obviously you live this, especially with everything that you did with becoming a helicopter pilot in the military, how you did it, how you've done that. Was this something backing up, Elizabeth? Was this something that was when you were growing up, you're like, hey, I'm gonna prove them wrong. Like that was kind of the gift that you were given. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to overcome, or talk about the discipline of mindset, right? And how it's not just I imagine it's not just as simple as I just always just believe, right? I mean, I have to continue to perfect my mindset on this, right? So what are some of the secrets or some of the tips or some of the wisdom you have when it comes to strengthening and keeping your mindset in the right place?
So the podcast is faith-based, right? I heard you say that in the introduction,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Faith-based. So when you're given a vision, when you have a dream, or you sit and you think about something that you want to accomplish and you have that vision, is that vision yours or is it God's?
it's God's.
It's God's, right? And does God give you junk?
Never.
Yeah. Right? So if you have a vision from God of your business, your future, of something that you know, like in a visceral, physical way, that you're supposed to do, your job is just not to screw it up, right? Your job, your mission is to implement, is to take the action, is to do the things that you've seen. And if you trust in that vision, amazing doors open along the way. But what happens is when we don't trust, right? When we doubt, when we question, or we second guess, and we take those distractions and the things like that that can happen when you get in your way of God's vision of what is already perfect and divine, that's when we mess up. Then
Excellent.
that's
So it sounds like trusting the vision, trusting the calling, trusting the purpose, right? And not letting doubt, distraction, or second guessing getting in the way. That is the foundation for keeping a strong mindset.
absolutely, Because if you trust in the vision, knowing that it's not from you, right? Because what happens is we think, well, who do you think you are? Well, I don't know who I am, but I know I'm following God's vision, right? Doesn't Isn't that a different kind of faith? Isn't that a different kind of belief? That how can you doubt that?
Absolutely. That's beautifully. I was reading Exodus actually this morning, and about Moses and the vision that the Lord gave him to bring the people out of captivity, and the doubts and the distractions and the second guessing, and but at the same time he took action. After a number of things, and he ultimately was one of the heroes of the faith, right? And so it's the beautiful thing about God is he does give us second chances, right? He does pick us up when we're down. He does encourage us. He is patient. He is kind. Um, but you're right. I think when again, kind of back to your first point, if you're just focusing on yourself versus focusing on where the power and where the strength and where the vision's coming from, then it can quickly fall apart. you know, but if you're focusing on, hey, I've got a calling in my life, and every step's been ordained, since even before I was even born, then that creates, I think, urgency. I think calling is both divine and urgent. So, Elizabeth, talk about urgency when it comes to leading first, right? When it comes to leading yourself, how does urgency fit into the equation, and how have you practiced urgency when it comes to your calling?
I mean, for me, I we know. I mean, we all know we have a limited time here, and we never know what our elevation date, we'll call it, right? What our elevation date is. We don't know. So, delaying, right? Delaying, kind of like distracting and doubting, delaying what we know we want to accomplish, what the vision we've been given is is denying God's vision for us. So, to me, every day hitting the ground running because I don't know how much time I have left. I don't know how much time somebody I'm supposed to have help with my message and what I do and being on a podcast like this. I don't know how much time we have, you have, Brett has, right? We don't know that. That's not ours to know. I hear stories all the time about people, young people or, healthy people dying unexpectedly. So, we all have a limited time on this planet in this body, right? So, it's up to you, it's up to me to make the most of my life and my mission and my business and my message and what I can do because as a speaker, that is my business, right? So, it's up to you to make the most of what you have.
Yeah, amen and amen. And by the way, again, pilotspeaker.com, if you want to learn more about Elizabeth McCormick. She has a couple books too, by the way. Pilot Method, which is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. You check that out, called Pilot Method. And as well, coming up, there's a book we'll be sharing here at the end of this podcast that you can learn about. It's a new book that's actually coming out this year, 2025, coming up, but we'll share that in a little bit. So I have four daughters, Elizabeth. You may not know this. And so one of my daughters, and you can imagine, I think kids in general, but especially my daughters, and I feel like I grew up with mostly just boys in the family, and my cousins, and we're all mostly boys. We have a couple girls at the end, but it's like nine of us, brothers and cousins. So I have four daughters. I have one boy at the end. But one of the daughters, one of the things we're talking about is comparison, right? And they want to know, what their sister's doing, or why their sister's not doing that, and these things. And so I think in one instance, wisdom, right? Wisdom is discernment of how to properly take, knowledge and apply it, right? And so, and in a lot of instances, it's like, look, God's given me the vision. He's given me the purpose. I'm going to focus on that, and I'm not to doubt. And the other part that I think God calls us is say, I have a mission for you personally, not to compare someone else's calling and mission. So in that scenario, God does want you to focus on you for the calling. So talk about that part of focusing on your particular calling that he's given you versus the comparison trap, which also causes delay, distraction, and ultimately not living out, God's calling for our lives.
Yeah, comparison, I call comparison the thief of joy. So it is a thief of your joy because no matter who you compare yourself to, right? No matter what business you compare yourself to, unless you are the number one spot, guess what? You're not the number one spot if you're not, right? So I don't look at comparison as comparison anymore. I look at it as competitive analysis, right? When I first started speaking, I've been doing this 15 years now. So when I first started speaking, I looked at all the other pilots who were speakers and did research, competitive analysis and research. Not to compare myself, I was just starting off. But what did they do? What did they say? What did they do well? I watched all their videos and I made lists of their key catchphrases and made a do not use list for myself as I was constructing and building my own speeches in business. So I didn't want to be like everybody else. I noticed that a lot of the other pilots, you might not know this, but pilots have a little bit of an ego, right? Just a little bit of an ego. And so a lot of them are on stage with all this bravada and ego. And I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. So my speech is constructed around vulnerability, transparency, showing the failures and the obstacles and the struggles instead of the successes. So how can you embrace your differences instead of comparing for the failures and comparing in the negativity that it draws?
It's great wisdom. I love that. So competitive analysis versus the thief of joy, right? When it comes
Mhm.
to comparison. Okay, great. So we've talked about a couple things, right? We've talked about relentless motion, right? We've talked about not getting in your own way. So what haven't I asked so far when it comes to first leading yourself that you just absolutely we've got to hear before we go move into the lightning round?
I think the biggest thing is having confidence, right? Is finding the confidence in yourself, finding having confidence in the vision that you've been given, right? And having that belief. Because nobody wants to buy from, no one wants to invest with someone who's wishy-washy, right? So confidence is attractive. People want to be around people that have those firm beliefs. And I think we're in such a polarized society in the US right now that someone that stands true to their values and their beliefs and knows who they are and can stand comfortable in their own skin, I think is more attractive than ever. It attracts business, it attracts clients, it attracts friendships, relationships. I think that's more important than ever.
And how do you best keep a deep confidence in all the everything that you just said? Like, how do you practically live that out?
For me, what I do affirmations. So, like, before I do a speech, as I'm brushing my teeth, I do it inside my head and I brush my teeth and I'll say 5 words that are positive about myself that I want to strengthen. And so, like, my 5 words are I am confident, I am powerful, I am genuine, I am, there's a couple other words I use mixed in there. Um, I am smart, I am a rock star. And I will say that over and over in my head because what most people don't know about me is I grew up really, really shy. So I was a super, super shy, hide behind my mother, wouldn't call my own hairdresser for an appointment person growing up. But what I realized as an adult is that didn't serve me. It didn't serve my mission. It didn't serve God's purpose for me. It didn't serve who I am and who I want to be. And the only person that can change that is you. A decision. And staying true to that decision and committed to that decision to be the best version of yourself that you know you need to be. And sometimes we have to develop those skills, and sometimes we just need to strengthen those skills. But those that's up to you.
Love this. Okay, this is great. So how does it serve you, right? Does it serve you? Whatever the thing that's holding you back, right? And then finding ways to speak affirmations in life, and retrain your brain, your heart, your spirit on that by using powerful words. Makes sense to me. Love that. 2025 vision. Actually, I want to come one extra bonus question before we go into the lightning round, right?
Yep.
So when you're doing vision planning and you're doing maybe you've already set your goals for the year for your team, like what's some of the best ways that you have found to keep and sustain momentum once you've done the planning and you've got it and you've got it out there for what you're going to be doing. How do you get others to keep that momentum going forward? What's been the best way for you to keep momentum going?
Mm. I think to keep the momentum going is just a matter of, uh, well, a couple things actually. So now that I'm thinking about it. So one is enroll other people in the vision. So like for me, one of the greatest things that I do is I teach my audience subtly. I teach my audience how to refer me, right? And make them part of my referral network and part of my sales team. So I do that by being absolutely exceptional as a speaker, but also giving them ideas and planting seeds of ideas so that they can refer me as well. So that's one thing. I would say for everyone as an entrepreneur or business owner is staying connected with past customers. Like, what are you doing? So in the past, I haven't been as good at that, and that's something I'm really, really focused on is serving that customer to the end of the life cycle. I think sometimes we have, like for me, I have a big event. We have a big event. We do our immediate follow up, and then we're on to the next event. They're on to the next event. But how can I be of service beyond that? So looking at ways to extend the life cycle that we have with our people we've already done business with, and then you know, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, part of our job is to be visible. And so how can you be more visible to those who are not yet customers? Can you improve your SEO? Can you improve your SEO for AI? Can you can you improve your social media presence? What are you going to do in the new year? So for me, one of the things I'm working on, one of my goals for 2025 is increasing my video presence. So having more clips, more reels, more stories, more things for video that are going to help amplify the impact that I have.
Amazing. Thank you. That was so practical. I'm so glad I asked that question. So a quick little review there, right? So make sure that as you want to keep momentum, as you're rolling others in the vision of what you have for 2025, and also planting seeds for referrals as you are serving or communicating with others. Stay connected with past customers. Don't forget to do that, and then serve them to the end of the life cycle. And also really asking yourself, how can I be more visible, and also how can I be a more of service beyond just the initial service that you provided. Okay, this has been incredible. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sure.
So before we go there, I want to make sure we get the book out there because I don't want to forget this part of it. So, what is the new book coming out? Briefly talk about that, and and then we'll dive into the lightning round.
Yeah. So the new book it's almost done, almost done. So a lot of what we talked about is in this new book that's coming out. Not sure when in next year it's coming out because we're still working on it, but it's called Just Fly. First Lead Yourself. Shocking, right? So this book is in pre-order right now, but you have to go to my website to pre-order it. So if you go to pilotspeaker.com, And then under, I think it's under store or books, you can pre-order it there. And if you pre-order it, there's some pretty cool bonuses for pre-ordering it. One of which is you get to be in the book crew, and the book crew, as we're finishing the book, we're doing some micro surveys, like quick 1, 2 answers, micro surveys. And if you have a story around one of the surveys that you take, you can submit a story and it might get included in the final version of the book.
Oh, that's exciting. So
Yeah.
just fly. You can pre-order it. Pilotspeaker.com. Check out the pre-order bonuses as well. Okay, very cool. All right, let's dive into the lightning round.
All right.
So, if you could go back to your 20-year-old self, what's the one gold nugget? Make sure to tell yourself to do.
20 years old. Believe in yourself stronger when other people doubt you.
Excellent. Number one book you've recommended the most or gifted the most in the past year.
Mind stuck.
By who do you know?
Um, he's a friend of mine. Oh my gosh, don't put me on the
But
spot.
I can't imagine
Oh,
there's more than
Michael
one
McQueen.
book called Mind Stuck.
Michael McQueen from
Okay.
Australia.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. Perfect. Next question. Number one leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by.
mm, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less.
I was just
John
reading the
Maxwell.
2021 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell yesterday. So,
Yeah, he was my mentor. So yes.
and I'll be with John in about a month to fly to Guatemala. So that's gonna be really cool too. So
Excellent.
we can talk about that afterwards. So next question is this: number one way you're using Chat GPT or other AI.
So I have been using ChatGPT to find out what my customers' industry issues are. So I'm using it for that industry analysis before I speak for different industries.
Love it. Next question: what are you most curious about right now?
I'm trying to figure out stories and reels and graphics and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So that's what my curiosity is kind of peaked on that.
Very cool. Next question. And it's kind of the essence of the entire show. I'm actually wrap it up with this one right here, right? Which is really practicing a mindset of stewardship over ownership, right? Knowing that we've only given a certain amount of time in this life, in this side of life, and what's the best way that you stay centered in your values, and then practice a mindset and practice of stewardship versus ownership.
By focusing on that urgency, by knowing that my job is to leave people better than they were before, and leaving our mark is temporary. So how can we, if we impact other people, though, it becomes permanent.
Beautiful. Elizabeth McCormick, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for sharing your story of inspiration, of courage, of leadership, of tenacity, of relentless action. I want to encourage you to keep using those gifts to inspire and help more people to do the same. For our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you mind one last time? What's the best place for them to find you?
Pilot Speaker is my hub for everything, and I'm Pilot Speaker on everything social as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth. Also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to another episode of the Build It to Billions podcast. We're also streaming on Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast as well. And we're here to guide you, the successful entrepreneur, on your journey from millions to billions. And because that's the journey we're on as well. And we want to help you and to continue to practice a mindset of stewardship over ownership by having amazing speakers like Elizabeth McCormick to speak to us about how to practice a life of intentionality, of purpose, of action. So I want to encourage you to do just the same today. Set a clear vision, chase after it, use the tips and secrets and wisdom she shared with us today to make a big impact so you can compound your wealth and life so you can give more all of it away to help MVPs. I'm Brett Swartz again. Appreciate everyone watching and listening to this. Please share, rate, review, subscribe, and we'll talk to you all again real soon. Bye now.